Welcome to the Launch Button Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors who found the courage to hit the launch button and take control of their destiny. Join me, Hugh Zaretsky, best-selling author, seasoned real estate investor, and serial entrepreneur, as we dive deep into inspiring stories and invaluable lessons that will empower you to break free from the ordinary and pursue your true passions. Are you feeling trapped in a job that drains your passion and leaves you yearning for more? Are you ready to accelerate your business and or real estate investing to take it to the next level? It's time to ignite your dreams and embrace the limitless possibilities that life has to offer. Get ready to launch into the life you've always desired by pressing the launch button. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Launch Button Podcast. Today, we've got two amazing guests for you. They've actually relocated their entire lives from Canada, a little island in Canada, and all the way to Denver, Colorado, and they're helping people in their relationships dive deeper and solve those problems that have been bugging you for years. And maybe you're not even in a relationship yet, and you still need some help. So we've got Craig Bennett and Meredith here. And they're going to talk about a little bit about their background and how they've been on this journey of coaching couples, which is a double-edged sword, but yet they're a couple. So they're going to show you exactly what they've been doing. So tell us a little bit about how you guys met on that beautiful island and then how you transitioned to Colorado.
Well, we actually met at work. We worked for the same company. And we actually met in a city over closer to the Rocky Mountains in Canada called Calgary. So we were working for the same company. And we actually met at a bar.
Yeah, it was like a retirement event for a couple people that worked for the same company we did. I knew one of the people and she knew one of the people. And to be honest with you, neither of us is like, it's not my cup of tea. These these events where there's, you go to a bar and you drink a bunch of beer and hang out with people at work. I see them enough at work that it wasn't my thing, but something, I don't know, that day, something told me to just go. And so, yeah, I did. And
I wasn't going to go either, but then the woman came around at the last minute and she's like, "You're coming, right?" And I was like, "I sure am." And we ended up
peer pressure, a little bit of peer pressure.
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
It was the universe working in my favor because we ended up being among the last to leave, which is also unusual because we both like to go to bed by like 9:30. So it was unusual that we were both among the last two people at the event. But I don't know, we just kind of got to chit-chatting and the rest is sort of history from there.
Yeah. I went to the typical Canadian first date, went to a hockey game.
Right.
So after that, it was, we just started hanging out.
It was all downhill from there. No, but just joking, because you guys are two of the biggest sport fans that I know. I'm a huge sport fan. I know you guys are huge sport fans, and that was one of the things we connected over. And it's sort of a little undercover with you guys besides hockey. And then, hockey's just a tip for them. They're any sport, all
we love it
marathons
all
and everything. So
love athletics. Yeah.
And does that help in relationships, the fact that you have things in common, or how does that sort of play in?
Yeah, for sure. I think having things in common helps, but I think the most important part is having some level of alignment in your values, the deep-seated, deep-rooted, what makes you you and how you want to operate in the world. When there's overlap there, that's what's critical, finding that out early. And then the other piece I think that's critical is having alignment on your goals, your dream, your vision. What do you want your life to be like? If you have two totally different views of what the ideal future for you is, you've got some work to do to align that for sure, because you want to be going in the same direction.
It's cool to have your own individual goals. Obviously, you want to have those, but then you want to have your relationship goals. So it's almost like three entities. You've got your goals, she's got her goals, and then you've got your relationship goals, and that's really your North Star. That's what you're building towards. So I think it's really important to have that plus the value alignment. It helps to have some of those other,
fun things.
Yeah, like sports in common, because it's just something that makes it easy to go on a date night to a hockey game or something. Whereas if, we didn't, one of us liked it, one of us didn't. Well, one of us is, compromising on that, going to the hockey game this week, and then maybe we're going to ballet or something else that maybe the other person enjoys next week. But
we don't always cheer for the same teams, though. So we all because we had our teams entrenched for the most part before we met. So there's a little bit of fun there for sure.
Yeah, it creates that friendly competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the big question: who said "I love you" first?
I did.
And we were actually going to a hockey game.
No, it was a basketball game. It was actually in Denver too. It happened to be in Denver. We were going to a Nuggets game.
Yep.
Kind of just blurt it out, or is this part of the
Yeah.
conversation? And did
Yeah,
Meredith
it was-
respond okay, or did she leave you
I
hanging?
responded very well.
She responded perfectly. Yeah.
I know in today's dating world, right? That's a big thing of like people like who says it first, and then the response from the other person. Do you guys have
It-
any tips on that, or
Well, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting topic to bring up because it's super vulnerable, right? When you're dating someone and you're having these feelings and you think they're reciprocated, but you don't actually know. Like there's an unknown there. And so you really are dipping your toe in the water and saying like,
Put myself out.
here I am. Hopefully you like it. And I would say the tip is uh don't deny it when you feel it. Say it. Say what's on your heart. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if it won't, either way, the universe is working in your favor. It's meant to be that way. And if it works out and she says I love you back or he says I love you back, perfect. Hug, have a kiss, do the thing. If they don't, it is gonna sting. It's happened. I've felt that. I'm sure everyone's felt that sting in a romantic relationship. But the thing is, you can get through that. That's not the end of the world. It might feel like it in the moment, but you can get through that.
Yeah, I think the most important part is putting yourself out there and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is going to be the superpower
Yeah.
for that relationship, but for really all of your relationships.
It literally is the superpower to all your relationships, and you might as well get that going early and set that foundation really strong early.
yeah, awesome. So since you guys are a great couple, and I watch you guys hang out together, have fun together, right? You really built this camaraderie, and there's teasing, like you said, like back and forth. There's good jabs, right, at each other to do that. What are some of the tips or tricks that you have for people, like either a lot of people are in a marriage right now and they have to refine love, or people out there looking to find love, to sort of build that rapport so that you can A, be vulnerable, and B, have that teasing fun back and forth? Is there some tips you have for the average person out there listening to the podcast being like, how do I build that?
Yeah. And the first one is the hardest, I think, and it's the relationship with yourself. You got to be right with you and love yourself first, because it makes it easier to be brave and put yourself out there when you're good with you. And you can only give and receive love from someone else to the degree that you have it for yourself. So that's going to hold you back or propel you forward, depending on how aligned you are with your own self-love. So that work on yourself first, super critical. Second, I would say the team. Approaching your relationship, you're always on the same team.
So when you're having those fun jabs at each other, you're poking fun at things that they've done, not things that who
About
they
them.
are, values, things about their personality. Maybe they did something silly. Like the other day, for example, I learned that there are two different words for anecdote and antidote.
He had been using the words interchangeably.
I've been using them for 43 years interchangeably. I didn't know that they were two different words till she finally called me on it and has been making fun of me ever since on it. And that's totally fine because it's something I've done. It's not who I am. And I've done the work to know that I'm not a dummy most of the time. And so I'm okay with myself and who I am. And so it just makes it easier. The other thing is just have a general attitude for fun and adventure. This life is way too short to take yourself so seriously. Just have fun and have this attitude of fun and adventure.
We actually make it a goal to laugh and have fun together every single day.
Yeah.
Like at least once, one small moment where we can genuinely laugh together is a goal that we have set years ago.
And lately it's been centered around versus anecdote. Anecdote. I mean, still don't know how to say it.
For more context, the very first title of our very first podcast was The Antidote to Fear, and that whole episode he said anecdote the whole time, and I didn't correct him.
So you would think in that moment that might have been the time to tell me, like, dude, you've been saying this wrong the entire time. But she waits a few years later to let me in on that secret.
I just let him in on it like a week and a half ago.
Well, and that's sort of unique though, because usually like people from their spouses or significant others take things harder than if it comes from it, because they've built that, I don't know, mental thing of like just one more thing you're adding on, putting me down, that type of thing. How do you break that? And I know you're coaching lots of, by the way, the Road to Life coaching program, definitely check it out. Go to their website. We'll have everything in the links below. But usually it's the opposite where you guys are like, yeah, it's okay. But other people, it's like, oh, that's just one more thing, right?
We make a really solid effort to give each other the benefit of the doubt. And it's funny because that started from a situation where we made that a priority for us. We were just out for a walk one day going through the park, and I had just come back from a girls' night. And he's like, "What'd you do on your girls' night? Chit chat?" And he could feel my energy shift immediately.
It was weird. I said chit chat and she immediately like did not like that.
Keep going.
So I just checked in with her. I was like, so what just happened? Because we were walking through a park, beautiful sunny day, warm, great atmosphere, and like it just changed. The clouds came out and it was cold and the wind came through, and I was like, what just happened? And she's like, well, go ahead.
He used the word chit chat and it made me feel like he was dismissing it or belittling it, or it was like what my girlfriends and I, how we hung out was not important. And then he told me, "Oh, I just use that word because whenever you come back from these and I say, 'What did you do?' I always say, 'We just chatted,' because that's literally all we do." We had a whole weekend where it rained, thankfully, all weekend. So we stayed inside, all the girls, and just caught up with each other because we just see so little of each other with work and kids and businesses and all the things that we see each other once or twice a year. So we do just catch up and chit chat. And when he said that, well, oh, those are the words you use. I was like, those are the words I use. I didn't even realize it. And that's when he jumped in with, if you're going to give anyone the benefit of the doubt, I would never try to belittle you or make you feel small or less than. So if you're going to give anyone in the whole entire world the benefit of the doubt that they wouldn't do that, why wouldn't it be me? I was like, "Oh, that's such a good question. Why wouldn't it be you?" And so from that point forward, we've made it like a very serious intention in our relationship that we always give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think it's really important. You've chosen this person to go through life with. You've got your North Star, you're building towards something huge. That's your person. If they hurt you or if they say something that stings a little bit, there's a like 99.9999% chance that was not their intent. And so it's really just having that conversation and leading in with curiosity and asking questions. Just this is how I took that. Did you mean that? And just having that awkward, sometimes difficult conversation, but leading with curiosity and having the benefit of the doubt is critical.
And that goes a long way to like rebuilding the trust, right?
Big time.
Like,
100%.
take a little bit of time. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna do it, and then sort of catch yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Totally.
if someone says something that sort of stings and it's unintentional and you question it, because normally we would just assume, right? Well, I assume he said that to piss me off, or I assume he said that to whatever. But if I lead with curiosity and ask the question and I find out where he's coming from, in that instance in the park where that's not where he was coming from at all, then we can bypass the whole sort of like escalating of digs and snipes and building on each other, and we can just let it go. There can be an apology if one is required, because we also have an intention of giving apologies generously. If you apologize based on impact, not on intent, I didn't mean for that to hurt your feelings, that doesn't matter. Like, I apologize because what I said did hurt your feelings, and I own that.
that's a big statement right there, right? We apologize based on impact and not intent.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, like, and I know I do sometimes that in my trainings, I'll say something and then I watch the person's face change, and I was like, that's definitely not how I meant it, right? Like, but it takes a long time to learn those skills for you guys to have that and to get that. It's not something people have right away.
No.
Yeah, it takes intention for sure.
And that's definitely something everybody listening to the podcast can work on. We can always all get better, right, at that and understand it, and watching the reactions of people, because their body language will tell you the impact it had,
Totally.
not necessarily their words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you make a good point too. It's like with you and your training, it's similar in all relationships. It's not just this relationship, it's all relationships that this applies to. So it's just a really good point.
And it's another example of something that we say a lot, because that's a difficult conversation. I love you. That's putting yourself out there. That's uncomfortable. And this is how I heard that. Is that how you meant it? Like, leading with curiosity and engaging in that conversation feels uncomfortable and a bit weird, especially the first few times you do it. But it's always a little bit uncomfortable to say, like, that hurt my feelings. Is that what you meant to do? And then it's also a little bit uncomfortable to apologize when that's not what you meant. And so those there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations required to have a strong relationship. And you got to kind of get good at leaning into that discomfort a little bit, because we say you're trading that short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction. You're not willing to have that conversation in a relationship. And I would rather have short-term discomfort than long-term dysfunction in every relationship every day. And Layla Hormozi says it so well. She says, like, you think having that uncomfortable conversation is hard. Wait till you see the result of not having that conversation. Like, we just kick that can down the road and that tax gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So trying to lean in to have that difficult conversation as early as possible makes it easier.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like not the whole big emotional thing. It's like a little thing you can address, but then it's like, I'm piling on all of these things versus, hey, let's just talk about that little thing now. And those are all the little social contracts we have with everybody, right? When somebody does something, if we don't address it, also, we in essence give them permission to keep doing it because they don't know what's wrong.
100%. Yeah. The longer you let something go, the bigger it grows.
And you don't even like, and that's why sometimes, like, I've seen this a lot in business relationships or personal relationships. You guys do way more on the personal side, but like, somebody will say something and like call somebody like a nickname or something, and then like the person takes it as a jab, but they don't correct them. Sort of like your word there, Craig, right? And it builds, and then finally somebody like corrects them, and it's like, "But I've been doing it for so long. I didn't know it was bad. I didn't know it was hurting you."
Exactly.
What you accept, like what you tolerate, becomes what you accept and what you're going to receive. So you got to be clear on what you will and will not tolerate, and lean in to have those difficult conversations when something comes up that needs to be addressed, because the longer you leave it, the worse it gets.
Yep.
So for people in relationships trying to work things out, or maybe there's an issue going on, what's a good way for them to bring it up to the significant other without, sort of offending them? Do you have a tip or something for them on that?
Yep. First, there's a fine line of the right time. There's never a perfect time, so trying to, like, don't put it off indefinitely, but also don't bring up something important that needs a discussion that's an important conversation when the kids are screaming, when it's bedtime and the kids are going crazy, or you're in the middle of making dinner, or someone's in the middle of doing something important at work. Like, it helps to agree on a time. Like, hey, I got something important I want to chat about. Let's do that tonight after the kids go to bed. Does that work for you? Just setting a time in the next day, not indefinitely. There's never a perfect time, but the best time for you that you can both be super present and sit down together to have a conversation that you can both be like in the moment for. Because when we try to have these conversations and one person's not prepared for the conversation and they're distracted, then that's when it tends to escalate quickly. And then I would also say, when those conversations happen, they're hard. There's no way around it. They're awkward. Sometimes things get pointed out, boundaries get set. Like, there's lots of things that can happen in those difficult conversations.
It's important to remember that on the other side of uncomfortable and hard is everything you want. So if you can remember that, then it helps you to motivate you to just, oh, do I really want to have this conversation? Well, everything I want's on the other side of it, so I better hunker down and have this conversation. But it's really important to speak from your truth, like the things that are impacting you, not speaking in generalities. You always do this, you never do this, and I'm always the one doing this. And because that's actually not true. Like, if we really looked at this objectively, I think there's times where he does or she does, but also does not. And so it's speaking in generalities never helpful. And just speaking from like how it's impacted you and how you're feeling about this particular situation is a very strong start.
Yeah, because we believe that feelings trump facts every time. And so you can speak from how something has impacted you, from your feelings, as opposed to trying to state facts to the other person that you may or may not agree on the set of facts, right? Because we all live life through our own lens with our own experiences, and my facts, we're all on this podcast together. Our 3 experiences will be different, and we'll debrief this next week when we're all together, probably, and what everyone's favorite part was, but we'll all have a different experience, which means our set of facts from this conversation will all be different. So you're probably never going to agree on the one true set of facts. So speaking from your personal experience and what your feelings are, you can't argue someone's feelings, that they're their feelings. And speaking in really specifics, not generalities, is also key, because it doesn't trigger the other person's defenses so much. The minute you say, like, Hugh, you always say this, then immediately Hugh's like, what? No, I don't. Like, you have immediately hit like a rock, right? You're immediately hit a wall there, and it's hard to find a path forward. And then there's like, just the standard sort of rules for having a disagreement where like there's no yelling, there's no name calling.
Respect. Just have respect. Do not lose respect. It's like the base, the foundation. Do not name call, do not yell. Just the golden rule, basically. Treat others how you'd like
Is it really loud? Is that not okay? I'm not really.
You could be animated, I guess.
Is okay.
That's your personality, but no yelling, no name calling. That's not going to be helpful.
Vulnerabilities, like we talked about earlier, vulnerability is a superpower in your relationship. So you know a lot of stuff about each other, all their fears, all their insecurities when you're connected like that. And the minute you take one of those insecurities and lob it back like a grenade in an argument, you put a brick in the wall between you, and that wall is going to build quickly because the trust is gone.
Trust, that's eroded.
Yeah.
Vulnerabilities are off limits.
Yeah.
Name calling off limits. It really just comes down to general respect. And back to the point we talked about earlier is just leading with curiosity and not and benefit of the doubt, and not getting offended, and just asking questions to learn more. And we're in this space of personal growth, but not everybody is. And it's really important that when you have these conversations, it's an opportunity to grow and become a better version of you. And so take it as a gift and be grateful and have gratitude that we're having this conversation, because now I get to be better. So
right. And it could simply be a change of a word, right? Because one of the biggest things, like in business and some of the different things, we all have, a different definition. Like you said, 3 different experiences, we all have a different definition of the same word.
Yep.
Everybody thinks we're saying the same word, or we're using it the same way. Like, and yet we completely have a different definition. That's why certain words offend people and not others, like it's super interesting.
Well, I seem to have had 2 different definitions for the same word, like one definition when I use it and another definition when he uses it.
Right.
So,
exactly. For
we
you,
all
it's
use
okay, but for him, it's not, right?
Correct.
Like, those double standards that we don't even realize we have.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I appreciate you guys chit-chatting with us as we're going through this, right?
Our pleasure. I love chit-chatting.
Yeah. So now talk about your transition, because you guys were up in Canada and now you've decided to move to the US, not having anything to do with politics. We stay out of that, but just like you were like, we need to move our business. We need to make some shifts. What was the big driving force behind that?
Community. Like,
and to be clear, we're Canadian, so we haven't moved here technically. We're here for a little while, and we're going back to Canada, and then we're going to play within the rules. We're going to play within the rules.
For all immigration officials out there, yes, everything's
playing within the rules. We're here for a little
podcast.
while, according to the requirements.
We will leave the day we're supposed to.
And we're going to leave, and then we're going to play within the rules and be back when we can. But it's really all about community. We built a really strong community, the Final Percent Network. We're all part of the TFP community, and it's been a game changer to have that love, that support, and just being around that energy, because we were literally on an island, but we were also figuratively on an island. It was we felt really removed and kind of a little bit lonely being over that way. And so it really was just being around the right people. Like our community at home, they don't understand what we're doing. They think we're crazy. They think we're nuts.
We each left our like super successful high 6-figure corporate jobs, which they thought was like the pinnacle of success, right? That's how we were both raised. And now we're over here trying to build a business. We're part of this purple army. Like they just don't understand what we're trying to do. And that's something I've learned, that entrepreneurship feels really lonely sometimes, even though we're doing this together. So we have each other. So that's, I'm incredibly grateful. If I was doing it completely alone, it would be even worse, but it's hard enough, just the 2 of us trying to do it. It feels like you're just pushing this boulder uphill and shouting out into the abyss sometimes on social media. Is there anybody actually out there paying any bit of attention to what we're trying to accomplish over here? And so it feels really lonely and isolating as an entrepreneur sometimes. That's why I think the community is so critical, having people around you who understand what you're trying to accomplish, because they're trying to do it too. And they support you and they celebrate you and they lift you up. And, for us, Greg and TFP, he saw our greatness long before we did. Long before I don't know where we'd be if we hadn't met Greg, because we had some weird and interesting business ideas going on when Greg was like, we you sure about that?
That seems like a bad idea.
And so it was really helpful for us to have the community be able to offer us a different perspective on us, because you can't see the forest for the trees when you're right in the middle of trying to make your big decisions in life. So the community offers perspective, but they also offer that sort of lift that, yeah, you're doing it, keep going, you're on the right track, that sort of feeling of not being all alone in it. And to his point, we were literally and figuratively on an island. And it was really hard. It made it harder. It's much easier to be more embedded in the community and feel the support and the energy.
And that entrepreneur roller coaster can be super lonely, right? Because when you're down, you don't want to talk to people about your failures, right? Just like in relationships, when you're down, you really need that other person to sort of pull you back and be like, it's not so bad. And that's what the power of a community can do. Those are the types of things, and that really can help when you surround yourself with, because everybody sees, entrepreneur life, it's super easy. Just post a few things on social media and bam, you're a millionaire and you got hundreds of millions of followers, right? Just go do that.
It's just that easy.
It's just that easy. $9.99 right here. You can learn how to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Very much.
yeah, it's an interesting world, and like I said, our family, they just have no clue. They think we're absolutely nuts. In fact, I think even recently we were told we're in a cult and we need to go get jobs,
Correct.
like real jobs.
Like,
what you're doing is crazy. So
yeah, totally. I've been doing this for 20 years. My dad's still like, hey, are you going back to IT? Changed a little bit, Dad, in 20 years. Like, you can still get a job, Like,
but I'm currently unemployable from my own perspective, so I could not.
Yeah.
So totally like that. And you guys really were in a small island. We're in an island here in Manhattan, so it's a little different. There's a lot more people there.
Yeah.
But you guys, and I describe it, and it may not be 100% accurate, but like Oak Island, the digging on Oak Island up there, like you guys were
Up that way.
Yeah. One of your apartment buildings is probably the population of our island. Like your one city block for you guys is probably the same population as our entire province.
We've probably got 150,000 people in the whole province, of the whole island.
Yeah.
So totally like that, and like that's sometimes you got to be in proximity, and the longer proximity plays a big thing into things, and you can do that over Zoom. Like I love the fact you guys are jumping on our coaching calls and our weekly calls. So for everybody that's on those, you get to see Craig and Meredith, and they're going to be adding more stuff on the relationship side as we dive deeper into community and have access to their stuff. But even over Zoom, right, just getting plugged in almost daily on calls can do that for people. And I always tell people, sometimes the calls need you and sometimes you need the calls.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, you just got to show up to be part of it.
Yeah.
You just never know. Like you just never know whether before the call, you don't know if you need the call or the call needs you. You don't know till the call is over which one of those it was. And it's the game changer for us to be able to get on and support everyone in their mastermind calls and build relationships. And like it's been a lot of fun, but it's also been a huge gift for us.
Yeah, we've been super intentional about hopping on as many of the mastermind calls as we can, and the different calls, just to, either, to your point, adds value and or benefit from and receive. But either way, super grateful for the technology, because that was when we're not able to go into an event or something in person, Zoom is then obviously, like, the technology is the next best thing. Super grateful for it, for sure.
Yeah. And now we talked about showing up for business and for yourself on the entrepreneur. People have to do that for their relationship. So what's some tips or you have for people to make sure that they're showing up and or that other person up, right? You said as the North Star for the other person.
Well, I would say that it's the same as your business. You put the things that are important to you in your business in your calendar. So do that for your relationship as well. Like, are you having a regular date night? Are you having regular time with your family? Is it in your calendar? Is it a non-negotiable? Is it a consistent daily action, as some people might say? I think treating it the way you would treat everything else in your life, because a lot of times it takes a backseat to the other parts of our life. And it's really important to make it either the top priority or at least equal, like not less than. Because I know there's sometimes we're out of balance and things need to happen in business and all the things to the needle. but it can't be generally that your business always takes priority over your relationship and family.
And like to your point around CDAs, you know, are you checking in with each other daily? Question. So we do ours at the end of the night when we're getting ready for bed and ask something really specific. Because if you ask, how was your day? You're going to get fine, or you're going to get a Meadow report. And if you ask, what was the best part of your day? Or what's the most important thing you learned today? Or what did you have the most fun at today? What did you fail at today? Something really specific that makes the other person have to dig a little deeper than they're used to and actually think about their answer, makes them feel like you actually care. And, you know, you do, because that's why you're asking. And it makes them feel like you want to be a part of their life and their day. And that generally creates a conversation that goes a level deeper than the usual sort of surface level conversations that we have when we're not paying attention. So the CDA of a daily check-in, really important. And the CWA, consistent weekly action, of weekly, like in our business, we have all of our like weekly meetings and our things, but having a weekly meeting for this community, like this is our primary community, and keeping it like, you know, revisiting our North Star, our big ticket goals, and then also the weekly logistics, like what's coming up, what do we need to be aligned on, what happened last week that we need to sort of make sure that we've got figured out, what's coming up this week, to be fully on the same page coming out of and going into every week and reminding yourself of what it's all for.
And a really cool thing we've been coaching on lately, for those who are familiar with the infinity model, is having your weekly meeting community centered around the infinity model. So what are we doing in our personal? Like, let's touch base on personal. Let's touch base on what's going on in our professional lives. Let's touch base on what we have going on in vitality in our community. Like, what are the things, like the events that we have coming up that we're going to?
The goals, the dreams, the whole
all the things,
logistics, all of it.
And we've gotten some really great feedback. So if you can structure it around the pillars of your life and ensure that you're touching all four pillars, it really is helpful for getting the nailed down and understanding who's where and what we're doing, and making sure that you've got the date night scheduled and the events with family and all the things.
And just being in momentum in your life. Like when you're just dialed in, everything else gets easier. Like this is actually the ultimate cheat code in life. Whatever your primary relationship is, like for us, it's our marriage. It could be your business partner, whatever your primary relationship is. When you are spending time, energy, and repairing, like walking on eggshells because you don't want to trigger that next argument about that thing that's coming up, or you end up just kind of like ships passing in the night because you're avoiding each other, or you're constantly in an argument, that takes a lot of your resources. And when that in thriving mode, when you're in maintenance mode with this and you and clicking and you're aligned, then you have all that time, energy, attention, focus to redirect to your other big goals and dreams. And they do too. So it becomes this like exponential energy force driving you forward towards your big goals and dreams. So it's a cheat code to dial your relationship in, because it makes the rest of your life so much easier.
Yeah, and when Meredith and Craig were saying we are for this community, they were pointing at each other. For those of you guys on the podcast, right? They were pointing at each other, meaning this relationship right here, because they're sitting next to each other. So for those of you guys just listening, you can't see the hand movement, but those of you guys just listening, like it's totally right there. They're going, you know, us right here when that's dialed in. But it is so true that you say, not even when you're walking on eggshells around other people, like you're planning for the argument. Like I talked to so many people, like business on the business side, where they're like, all right, we got to have this discussion, and they replay the discussion 20 times in their head versus just have the discussion.
Yep.
You know, because they're like, all right, when they say this, I got to do this. And then half the time that argument never happens. So the person just goes, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that messed you up. And you're like, I just wasted like 3 weeks preparing for this argument, right? Like, oh, my, I didn't realize that, right?
Such wasted energy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're your energy on something that's likely never going to happen. Thinking about things that are never going to transpire. Yeah.
And how do you have a trick, and especially in relationships, because like that's a big thing. You know, people are either future planning, like, oh, that's the one I'm going to marry, or that's the one I'm going to do this, and they're like on date 2, whatever, you know, and then like, you know, like versus, and then other people are like, oh, how could this go, right? Because we either have the positive mindset or the negative mindset, depending on who it is. How do you help people stay present in that situation so they can have those conversations or in the relationship?
Yeah, staying present, I think, is one of the biggest keys to the success of the relationship. Like he about making sure your date nights are scheduled and the important things are scheduled. It's one thing to be there in body. It's another thing to fully be where your feet are and have your phone put away. And one of the ways that we like to help keep ourselves in the present, but suggest other people too, is we go for a walk. And the phone is put away, either we leave it at home or it's packed in a bag somewhere, and you're out in nature, you've got fresh air, you got sunshine, your muscles are moving, your blood is pumping, you're not sort of looking at each other directly in the eyeballs, which kind of also helps when you want to have a good conversation. And just you can't, it's hard to be distracted. It's not impossible because you can still have the to-do list and the ticker running in your brain, but it's harder to be distracted when you're out for a walk and having a conversation. And so it's one of those little like hacks, I think, that make it easier to be present with the person you're with when you're outside walking with them to have a conversation. And so we really encourage people to try and find, it's usually how we end our day, like when we cut off our sort of work day, because like we spend our whole life basically within arm's length of each other, but and we wear a lot of hats, and you got to make sure that you take some hat off and put the next hat on sometimes. And so we generally make sure we get out for a walk at the end, like laptop gets closed, let's go for a walk, we'll debrief on the day, on the podcast, whatever the things that we did. And when we come back, it's time to make dinner, and now we're sort of, the workday is over and we're in a different mode now, and we can be super present with each other because we made that transition through the walk. So I think the walk is a really big hack for being able to be present with each other.
The scheduling that we talked about earlier, I think, is also really, really important. When you are in work mode, like in your calendar, then you're in work mode. And when you're in your calendar, when you're in personal mode, you know, we're working on this relationship, we're working on whatever it is, family time, it's really important that that's your focus. And I think when you really have a well-structured day, a well-structured calendar, it makes it a lot easier to know that all the things that I'm playing in my head about business or all the other goals and things that I have to the to-do lists that are going on in my head, I know those are going to get taken care of because they're already in my calendar. I'm going to do those at the appropriate time when the time comes. Right now, I'm focused on family, marriage, whatever it is. And another thing that I've used that has helped me to get better at being present in the present moment is mindfulness, just like a 15-minute meditation, half an hour, whatever you have, and just sit with yourself, your thoughts, and go into your senses. Like, and you can do that at any time, really, if you want. If you find yourself future pacing or thinking about the past and you're, anxiety or depression or whatever, then force yourself back to your present, like your senses, because that's you into the present moment. What do I actually see right now? What do I smell? What do I hear? And that helps bring you back into the moment. So I found that really helpful.
Awesome. And those are two great hacks right there for people. And it's going to be a great way we end this version of the podcast. I know we're going to go inside to our inside podcast. We're going to dive a little deeper on those tips and tricks right there that Craig and Meredith just talked about, because there's a couple different things. I know one of the biggest issues I had in one relationship, where especially as entrepreneurs, we can work forever. And so like creating that balance. So we'll talk about that on the inside podcast as well. But we're all going to be together in a couple days, because this is going to drop on Tuesday. We're going to be together on a couple days, right, at a big event out in Denver, Colorado. And then we're going to be coming around the country. We've got New York, we've got Seattle, I think LA is in there as well. So we're going to be coming around the country, Wyoming, like all these different places. We're going to be traveling together and getting a chance to hang out and build a deeper relationship, and then also be able to, bring them out on more opportunities to speak and be some of the different things that we're doing. So definitely plug into the road of life and make sure you get your roadmap for your relationship, because that's huge, to lay out that plan so you can start scheduling that out. So Craig and Meredith, I want to thank you guys. Any last words for people out there? Any thoughts?
Oh, we're grateful that you had us on here. This was a lot of fun. And my last words are, your relationships are the gateway to the success in your life. So strengthening those relationships is going to take you everywhere you want to go.
And the last thing I would say is that if you're struggling with your relationships, it doesn't have to be that way. You can get help.
There you go. You just got to take the action and reach out, because oftentimes people don't know, because you put on a brave face. You don't always have to put on a brave face. It's okay to ask for help. So take that consistent daily action and ask for help sometimes. And you might be even shocked on how much you can change and grow in just 1 year. So we'll see everybody in the next episode of the podcast, or hop on inside, go to the launchbuttonpodcast.com, hop on, and you'll get the second half of this episode. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.